My name is Emily Carter, and I am 25 years old. Before everything fell apart, life was simple. It was just me and my dad, James Carter. He was my best friend and the one person I could always count on. We didn't have much, but we had each other. 6 months ago, everything changed. My dad passed away suddenly, leaving me and my mom, Sarah, to pick up the pieces. It was hard on both of us, but instead of sticking together, she found comfort in someone, Thomas Blake. Thomas was nothing like my dad. He was smooth-talking and charming, always knowing just what to say to get on my mom's good side. Before long, she married him, and he moved into our house. At first, I tried to give him a chance, but it didn't take long to see his true colors. Thomas took control of everything, our home, our finances, and even the shares of my dad's small business. Mom said it was for the best, that Thomas was helping us. But I didn't believe it. I saw how he looked at me, like I was a problem he needed to fix. He didn't care about my dad or the life we'd built before him. He only cared about himself. There was one thing Thomas didn't know about, though. Before my dad died, he gave me a special silver pendant. He handed it to me one evening while we sat on the porch, watching the sunset. "Emily," he said, his voice calm but serious, "keep this safe. It's more important than you know." At the time, I didn't understand what he meant. It looked like an ordinary necklace, with a small, circular pendant engraved with a strange symbol. I kept it hidden in a box under my bed, not wanting to lose it. Now, every time I hold it, I feel like my dad is still with me. There's something about the pendant, its weight, its design, that makes me think it's more than just a piece of jewelry. Thomas might think he's taken everything from me, but he's wrong. My dad left me this pendant for a reason, and I'm determined to figure out what it is. The next morning, I woke up with a new resolve. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to find them sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I pulled the pendant from its hiding spot and examined it again under the morning light. The engraving on the back looked like a series of interconnected lines, almost like a map. Could it be? A map to what, though? I decided to start with Dad's study. Mom had packed most of his things away after Thomas moved in, but I knew she couldn't bring herself to touch his old desk. It was still there, tucked in the corner of the room, just as he'd left it. The room smelled faintly of his cologne, and for a moment, I felt like he was there with me. I opened the desk drawers carefully, not wanting to disturb anything more than I had to. Most of the drawers were filled with old papers, pens, and notebooks. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until I found a small, locked box in the bottom drawer. My heart raced as I examined it. The box was plain, made of dark wood, but it had the same symbol engraved on the lid as the one on my pendant. I ran my fingers over the carving, feeling a surge of hope. This had to mean something. I tried opening it, but the lock wouldn't budge. Frustrated, I sat back and stared at it. That's when it hit me, what if the pendant was the key? I held it up, looking for anything that could fit into the lock. On closer inspection, I noticed the bottom of the pendant had a small, removable piece. It clicked into place perfectly. With a soft pop, the box opened. Inside was a stack of old letters and a small, leather-bound notebook. My hands trembled as I picked up the notebook and opened it to the first page. Written in my dad's neat handwriting were the words, "For Emily. Trust no one." I stared at the words, my heart pounding. Trust no one. What was my dad trying to warn me about? Why couldn't I trust anyone? Slowly, I flipped through the pages of the notebook. Most of it was written in my dad's handwriting, but there were sketches, too, diagrams, maps, and notes that looked like they belonged in a spy movie. One page caught my eye. It was a drawing of the pendant, with arrows pointing to different parts of it. Next to the drawing, Dad had written, "Key to the safe." Protect at all costs. My hands shook as I traced the words. What safe was he talking about? Was it the box I had just opened, or was there something else? I kept reading, hoping for answers. The next few pages were filled with more notes about the pendant. Dad wrote about how he found it years ago and how it was connected to something called the Legacy Project. I had never heard of that before, but the name sent chills down my spine. The last page of the notebook was a list of names. Some I recognized, business partners of my dad's, family friends, even Mom's name, but others were complete strangers. Next to each name was a symbol, a check mark, an X, or a question mark. My mom's name had a question mark next to it. I closed the notebook, feeling more confused than ever. What was my dad involved in? And why did he think I would need to know all of this? Just then, I heard footsteps outside the door. My heart jumped, and I quickly shoved the notebook and letters back into the box. I locked it, slid it back into the drawer, and closed it just as the door opened. Thomas stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. "What are you doing in here?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Nothing," I said quickly, trying to keep my voice steady. "I was just looking for one of my dad's old books." His eyes narrowed as he stepped closer. "Stay out of this room, Emily. There's nothing here for you." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral, but inside, I was shaking. As soon as he left, one thing became clear: whatever my dad had been hiding, Thomas was a part of it. And now, I had to uncover the truth before it was too late. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed the words in the notebook, "Trust no one." And then there was the list of names. Why was Mom's name on it with a question mark? Did Dad think she was in danger, or was she involved in whatever this was? I waited until the house was silent before slipping out of bed. The pendant was warm in my hand as I crept back to Dad's study. I needed another look at that notebook. With Thomas around, I couldn't afford to leave anything to chance. The box was exactly where I'd left it. I opened it as quietly as I could and pulled out the notebook. This time, I went straight to the page with the pendant sketch. Along the edge of the page, written in tiny letters, were the words, "Light reveals all." I frowned, turning the pendant over in my hand. Light? I grabbed a flashlight from the desk drawer and shone it on the pendant. At first, nothing happened, but then faint lines began to glow on its surface. They formed a pattern, the same symbol engraved on the back of the pendant. Suddenly, the lines shifted, and a series of numbers appeared: 42.1968, minus 71.3824. Coordinates. My breath caught as realization hit me. Dad had hidden something, and these numbers were the key to finding it. I quickly copied the coordinates into my phone and put everything back in its place. As I turned to leave, I heard a floorboard creak. My heart leapt into my throat. Someone was watching me. I froze, my hand still on the door handle. The sound of the creaking floorboard echoed in the stillness of the room. My pulse quickened as I silently backed away from the door, trying not to make a sound. Was it Thomas? Or had I underestimated just how much danger I was in? The footsteps grew louder outside the door. I was running out of time. Without thinking, I darted to the window and pushed it open as quietly as I could. Cool night air rushed in, and I hesitated for only a moment before climbing out onto the roof. I crouched low, staying in the shadows, and made my way to the edge of the roof. Below, I could see the dark outline of the garage and the side gate that led to the street. With the pendant tucked safely in my pocket, I knew I needed to get away, at least for a little while, to process everything I'd just learned. I jumped down from the roof, landing silently in the garden below, and crept toward the side gate. Just as I reached for the latch, a voice stopped me cold. "Emily." I spun around, my heart pounding. Thomas stood there, his expression unreadable. "What are you doing?" he asked, his tone calm, too calm. I was just getting some air, I stammered, trying to mask the panic rising in my chest. "What are you doing up so late?" "I could ask you the same thing," he replied smoothly, stepping closer. "But let's not pretend. I know what you've been up to. I know about the pendant." I froze. "What do you mean?" "Your father's little secrets," Thomas said, his voice laced with dark amusement. "He was always so clever, wasn't he? Leaving you clues, hoping you'd figure it out. But you've only scratched the surface, Emily." He took another step forward, and I instinctively backed away, clutching the pendant in my pocket. I needed to get away from him, but every instinct told me I was walking straight into a trap. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, forcing my voice to sound braver than I felt. Thomas smirked. "Nothing yet. But I think we both know the answers you're looking for won't come easily. You're not the only one who's been searching for them. What do you know about the legacy project?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied me with a calculating gaze, as though deciding how much to reveal. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "Your father was involved in something much bigger than you can imagine. And that pendant. It's the key to everything. But it's not just yours to hold. You and I both have a role to play in this, Emily." My head spun. I thought I had a grasp on what was happening, but now I felt more lost than ever. I couldn't trust Thomas, but his words carried a weight that made me believe he knew more than he was letting on. "I'm not going to help you," I said, my voice firm. "Whatever this is, it's not my fight. I'll find out what my dad was protecting, and I'll do it without you." Thomas's smirk faded, replaced by something colder, darker. "I wouldn't be so sure of that," he said. "There are forces at play here, things you don't understand. You may think you're in control, but you're just a pawn in a much bigger game. And when you finally realize that, it'll already be too late." He turned and started walking back toward the house, leaving me standing there, my mind racing. Was he threatening me? Or trying to warn me? I couldn't tell. But one thing was certain, whatever secrets my dad had left behind, I was going to uncover them. And I wouldn't let Thomas, or anyone else, stop me. Taking a deep breath, I made my way back inside, my thoughts spinning in a million directions. The coordinates in my phone still glowed on the screen, seared into my mind, 42.1968, minus 71.3824. I needed to go there. Whatever was at those coordinates might hold the answers I'd been chasing, the truth about my dad's mysterious life, the legacy project, and whatever role Thomas played in all of it. But I had to be careful. Trust no one. Not even my own mother. The next morning, I barely slept. The numbers haunted me, taunting me with their mystery, refusing to let me rest. I couldn't put it off any longer. I had to see where they led. I grabbed my jacket and slipped out the door. Whatever this was, I couldn't do it alone. It was dangerous, Dad's clues, Thomas's involvement, all of it was too big for me to handle by myself. But I couldn't go to Mom. Not yet. She was too close to Thomas, and until I had answers, I couldn't risk dragging her into this. That left only one person I could turn to, Lily. She'd been my best friend since we were kids, always steady, always there when I needed her most. If anyone could help me figure this out, it was her. Even if this was way beyond anything we'd ever faced before. When I knocked on her door, it swung open almost immediately. Lily stood there, her expression a mix of confusion and concern. "Emily. What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't even know where to start. Instead, I handed her my phone, the coordinates displayed on the screen. Lily, I need your help. This is bigger than anything I've ever dealt with. She studied the numbers for a moment, then looked back at me, her eyes wide. What is this? What are you involved in? My hands trembled as I tried to explain. I don't even know. But I have to find out. Lily's brow furrowed. She glanced at the coordinates again, worry creeping into her voice. Emily, this is insane. You can't just go chasing after random numbers without knowing what's waiting for you. I don't have a choice, Lily, I said, my voice shaking. Dad left these clues for a reason. I need to know what he was trying to protect. I need to know the truth. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Then she let out a deep sigh, her shoulders dropping. Okay. But we need a plan. You can't just charge into this blind. If there's one thing I've learned from every crime show ever, it's that people don't leave cryptic messages unless there's serious danger involved. I know, I admitted. But if I wait too long, I might never figure it out. And if Thomas is involved, my voice trailed off. Lily nodded reluctantly, her expression hardening with resolve. All right. First, we figure out where these coordinates lead. If it's real, it might be somewhere your dad trusted, or somewhere important to the legacy project. But we need to be ready for anything. A small flicker of hope sparked in my chest. With Lily by my side, maybe I could make sense of all this. Let's go, I said, forcing a confidence I didn't quite feel. The drive felt endless. As the air grew colder, the familiar sights of my hometown disappeared, replaced by quiet fields and winding roads. We followed the coordinates deeper into a remote, desolate area. When we finally arrived, I stared at the landscape, my stomach tightening with unease. The fields stretched out endlessly, dotted with a few scattered trees and weathered buildings. No grand discoveries. No hidden vaults. Just emptiness. Are you sure this is the right place? Lily asked, her voice uncertain. I checked my phone again. The numbers matched. This is it. We got out of the car, and I scanned the area. The only thing that stood out was an old, run-down barn at the far end of the field. Its weathered exterior looked like it had been abandoned for decades, but something about it felt wrong. I don't like this, Lily muttered, clutching her phone tightly as we approached the barn. The door creaked open, almost as if it had been waiting for us. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the faint scent of decay lingered. Broken furniture and old hay bales were scattered across the floor, but in the far corner, something caught my eye, a small table, cluttered with papers and files. Look at this, I whispered, my voice barely audible. We moved closer, our footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. My hand shook as I picked up one of the papers. It was a map, a detailed blueprint of an underground facility. My breath caught as I noticed a familiar symbol etched into the corner of the map. The same symbol engraved on my pendant. This can't be real, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. My eyes scanned the map, taking in the intricate details, the hidden passages, and the areas marked with strange codes. What is this place? Lily asked, her voice filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that whatever this was, it was only the beginning. I didn't respond right away. My hands trembled as I spread the map across the table. Marked locations stood out, but one in particular sent my heart racing, a room labeled Legacy Vault. This has to be it, I murmured, barely able to believe it. This is what my dad was protecting. That vault, it's the key to everything. The gravity of the discovery settled over us. As I folded the map and slipped it into my jacket pocket, a noise shattered the stillness. The creak of a door opening, followed by the slow, deliberate tread of footsteps. Someone was here. Emily, a cold, menacing voice called out, sending chills down my spine. I knew you couldn't resist. I spun around, my blood running cold. Thomas stood in the doorway, his dark eyes gleaming with something dangerous. Thomas, I forced the word out, my throat dry. What are you doing here? He smirked, the kind of smile that made my stomach churn. You didn't think you could hide this from me, did you? You're not the only one searching for the legacy vault. I took a step back, my heart pounding. What are you talking about? Why are you doing this? The smirk faded, replaced by a sneer. Your father and I were partners, Emily. You think I married your mother for love? No. I married her to get closer to your father's project. And now, I'm going to finish what we started. His words hit me like a blow, and I struggled to process them. You're the one behind all of this. He nodded, taking a step closer. Your father never trusted anyone, not even me. He kept secrets, hid everything. But I've waited long enough. The legacy project is mine now. And you? He paused, his voice turning icy. You're just in the way. Panic coursed through me as I scrambled to think. I'm not going to let you take this, I said, trying to sound stronger than I felt. Thomas's expression darkened. You don't have a choice, Emily. This isn't a game you can win. Before I could respond, the faint sound of a car engine broke through the tension. It grew louder, closer. Thomas's gaze flicked toward the sound, his jaw tightening. It seems we've run out of time. But don't worry, Emily, we'll finish this soon enough. Without another word, he turned and disappeared into the night, leaving me frozen in place. Lily grabbed my arm, her face pale. What now? I stared at the barn door, my mind spinning. Whatever Thomas wanted, this wasn't over. The legacy vault was still out there, and I was closer than ever to uncovering the truth. But I couldn't hesitate. If Thomas got there first, everything would be lost. Now, I said, forcing my voice steady, we go after the legacy vault. And we get there before he does. We sped away from the barn, the car racing down the desolate road. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly they ached, but I couldn't let go. Questions swirled in my mind. How had Thomas found the barn? How much did he really know about the vault? Lily broke the silence. Emily, if this vault is real, what do you think is inside? Money? Documents? Evidence? I shook my head, my stomach churning. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's enough to make Thomas desperate. My dad wouldn't have hidden it unless it was important, maybe even dangerous. The map led us deeper. Before I could take a step closer, a sharp, metallic click froze me in place, the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. Step away from the safe, Emily. I turned slowly, my heart sinking as Thomas appeared at the entrance to the bunker. His expression was smug, but his eyes gleamed with malice. In his hand, he held a gun, the barrel aimed directly at me. You didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, did you? He said, his voice chillingly calm. Beside me, Lily went rigid, her wide eyes darting to the gun. My pulse thundered in my ears as I clenched my fists, desperately trying to think of a way out. What do you even want, Thomas? I asked, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the fear twisting in my gut. What's in the vault that's so important to you? He smirked, stepping closer. Something your father and I worked on for years. Something that will make me unstoppable. I narrowed my eyes, anger pushing back my fear. You mean something that belongs to my dad? You've already taken enough from him. The smirk vanished, and his grip on the gun tightened. Your dad was a fool, he spat. He never understood the value of what he had. But I do. Before he could say another word, a noise broke through the tension, a car engine roaring to life outside, followed by the crunch of gravel under tires. Thomas's attention wavered for the briefest moment, and I seized my chance. I lunged for the safe, my hands fumbling with the pendant still hanging around my neck. "Emily, don't," Thomas barked, but it was too late. I turned the pendant in the lock, and with a loud click, the safe swung open. Inside was a stack of documents, a flash drive, and a small sealed envelope with my name scrawled on it in my dad's handwriting. Thomas's face twisted in rage. "Give me that," he shouted, raising the gun. But before he could act, Lily grabbed a heavy metal rod from the floor and swung with everything she had. The gun clattered to the ground as Thomas stumbled back with a curse. "Run!" Lily screamed, her voice cracking. I snatched the envelope and flash drive, shoving them into my bag as we bolted for the stairs. Thomas's furious shouts echoed behind us, but I didn't dare look back. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. I threw it into gear and sped off, the bunker disappearing in the rearview mirror. My hands trembled on the wheel, adrenaline and fear coursing through me. In my bag, the envelope and flash drive felt heavy, like a lifeline. Lily broke the silence, her voice shaky. "Emily, what was in that envelope?" I glanced at her, then back at the road. "I don't know," I admitted. "But whatever it is, it's the key to everything." We drove until the first rays of dawn painted the horizon. The chaos of the night blurred in my mind, but the contents of the safe grounded me. This wasn't over, not yet. At a quiet motel on the edge of town, we checked in under fake names. Once inside, Lily locked the door and secured the chain while I retrieved the envelope from my bag. "Are you ready?" she asked, sitting beside me on the bed. I nodded, my hands trembling as I tore it open. Inside was a letter in my dad's familiar handwriting and a small photo of us from my 6th birthday. Tears welled in my eyes as I unfolded the letter. "My dearest Emily. If you're reading this, it means you found the legacy vault. I wish I could be there to explain everything, but life doesn't always give us the time we want. Years ago, I discovered something extraordinary, a technology called the Legacy Project. It was designed to revolutionize clean energy, to provide unlimited power without harming the planet. But as with anything powerful, there were those who wanted to use it for their own gain. I trusted the wrong people, Emily. Thomas was one of them. I thought he was my friend, but he betrayed me. I knew I couldn't stop him alone, so I hid the Legacy Project, along with the evidence of his crimes. I knew he'd come after it someday, and I'm so sorry that you're caught in the middle of this. The flash drive contains the blueprints for the Legacy Project and enough evidence to expose Thomas and his accomplices. But you must be careful. Trust only those who have earned it. You've always been stronger and smarter than you realize, Emily. I believe in you. I know you'll do the right thing. With all my love. Dad. Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading. Lily placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, her own eyes glistening. "What do we do now?" she whispered. I wiped my tears, resolve hardening in my chest. We finish what my dad started. We expose Thomas and make sure the Legacy Project is used for good. The next few days passed in a blur of planning and action. Using the flash drive, Lily and I uncovered detailed blueprints for a self-sustaining energy system and incriminating evidence of Thomas's crimes. We reached out to Detective Harper, a trusted family friend. Harper had always been wary of Thomas, and when we showed her the evidence, she sprang into action. Within days, the authorities raided Thomas's properties, uncovering more proof of fraud and conspiracy. The media swarmed the story, and Thomas Blake, the man who tried to steal my dad's legacy, was finally brought to justice. But the fight wasn't over. With Harper's help, we connected with scientists and environmentalists who could bring the legacy project to life. My dad's dream was becoming a reality. Months later, I stood on a stage at a press conference. The legacy project was ready to launch, and I was there to speak as my dad's representative. This project isn't just about clean energy, I said, my voice strong. It's about hope. It's about believing in a better future and fighting for what's right, no matter the odds. My father taught me that, and I hope his legacy will inspire others to do the same. The crowd erupted in applause. Clutching the pendant around my neck, I smiled. Dad's dream was alive, and so was his memory.